And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from in the world. Welcome to another high vibe conversation. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗏. With me today are the lovely high vibe women with heart. And today we're talking about dialing up your courage, something that is very, very close to my heart and my soul. And I guess I'm going to kick this off because this is something that I talk a lot about, and it's like working through the fear and like doing things anyway, right? And so I know when in my experience, when I was leaving my previous employer, my last employer, if you will, because now I'm my own best and worst employee. I didn't know what was coming next. And to anybody else who decided to give me unsolicited feedback, because when I want to know something or want somebody to comment, like I'll ask for it. But anyone who gave me unsolicited advice was more or less like, you should never leave your job without a backup plan. You should wait until you have another job lined up. What are you going to do about income? You don't have any job security, like all the things, all the unknowns. Yes, I knew all of that. And my situation was so bad and I was so sick mentally and physically that I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. And so I mustered up the courage. I think that's the word, right? Muster. I got up the courage to just do it anyway. Did I have it all planned out? No. Was I scared as hell? Absolutely. And it was super important for me to just do it regardless, and like figure everything out as I go. So when I say that it's really important to dial up your courage, it's about like heading into the unknown and facing your fears, and who knows what can happen, because we're all stronger, so much stronger than we realize, right? So that's how I bring courage to the table. And I do that time and time again. In fact, I'm going through an operation separation right now that's caused me to really like stay strong and be courageous. And things are unknown, and that's okay. But I know I'm going to like push through and come out the other side, and things are going to get better. In fact, I'm not even at my home anymore because I don't have one. So what you see behind me, we're streaming wherever we can, and it's good enough, and I'm good enough, and we're gonna keep going, right? So I'd love to hear from you, ladies. How does courage come up in your lives, and how do you dial it up when you need to?
Can I jump on this?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shell. What comes up for me is that not that we ever truly, knowing ourselves is always a discovery. That's always an exploration. But you have done so much inner work and you know yourself. So for you to know that the choice that you made is in alignment with who you are, that is really dialing up your confidence, right? Regardless of what other people are saying, you know you're doing what's good for you, right? So what's coming to mind for me is just acceptance, like self-acceptance, that I am firstly accepting myself, so I'm not so much, leaning on other people to give me that validation, and that means that I get to make the choices for myself. And I have a funny story. I shared it with you just like jumping on, and I will dial up my courage to share it with the audience. That like today, I'm a woman, and today I bled through my pants. Yeah. And if you're a woman, I'm sure at some point that happened to you. And I had the courage to accept it for myself, that I even shared it with my boss, that I ended up in this really, really, this tricky situation where I had to figure this one out for myself. And in accepting myself first, I didn't care as much, what he would think or what the people around me would think. I mean, this is all normal. This is all part of the human experience. So in accepting myself, firstly, I did not need to fear the opinions of others, and I could just work that situation out for myself. Funny story, right? Hopefully that might
And
might
so
relate
relatable, right?
somewhere. Yeah.
Um,
And mhm.
and just recognizing that, like, that is a normal part of a woman's life. Like, at some point, that may or may not have happened to you, maybe several
Yeah.
times. And maybe that was your first experience with having your period, like when you were younger and like you didn't know,
Mhm.
and it happened in school. So that happens to so many teenagers and they're mortified, but like you got to deal with like the situation at hand and you have to push
Yes.
through, right? Because
Yeah.
what happens if you don't? Like
Yes.
what's the worst case scenario if you don't?
Oh my
Um,
goodness. And when I actually shared, when I was like, "You guys, this is what just happened," all like my colleagues started sharing these funny stories of, like their experiences or like their colleagues' experiences. And we ended up just connecting and having this really human, nice time together. And all of the, like my shoulders dropped even more. And it was just very enjoyable to be human and show up human. And it was all acceptance. So it turned out very well. Yes, I do just a following to this. My experience with dialing up my courage has been connecting the fear of entering something new with the things that I'm longing for that are truly on the other side. So, what we all long for is freedom, right? It's that joy, it's that pleasure, it's like that joy of expanding our lives and discovering more. And in our fear, it's like we're holding ourselves back and we're making that space in our life very, very small. We're like our space in the world very, very small. So, a big part for me in dialing up my courage has been starting to associating my fear with the joy and the pleasure and the freedom that is waiting for me on the other side of pushing through and just experiencing the experience. And I'll leave it at that.
I think that's so important to acknowledge that like what's waiting for you on the other side is going to be that much more expansive once you like dive in and dial it up. And this I was I was viewing, I wasn't a participant in it, but I was viewing another live this morning about personal branding, which is something that I talk about all the time. And it came up about content creation and there's a lot of fear behind creating videos. Well, what are we doing right now? We're creating a live stream. We're having like, and I know it's kind of meta to talk about going live inside a live, but and it's a no-no, but I'm going to do it anyway for purposes of this courage piece because where content and consistency is key and we have to keep showing up in a way that our audience will resonate with us. We're building our personal brands even right here. We're speaking to things that matter to us and like using our voice, and we're dialing up our courage every single time that we come on here. And whether we have embarrassing stories to share and we're getting raw and vulnerable and like things are happening in real time, there's no filter here. There's like if there's a technical glitch or an error, or if like someone drops off the live and has to come back on, like what you see is what you get. We're not filtering any of this. There's no editing. And that it's just us showing up and being courageous every single conversation. And so how this relates to the earlier live that I was viewing was a lot of people mentioning that they were afraid to show up on video. Well, video is being prioritized right now, especially in this day and age, especially online on social media. Like, and if you're not putting yourself on video in some way, shape, or form, you are holding yourself back. You are not showing up. And just being able to do this now here with you is like it's the most authentic thing that you can do because people are seeing who we are, who you are. And so I encourage everybody to hop on video, get on a live, or record yourself. Just do it, because why would you not? Why would you hold yourself back that way? So I wanted to add that little snippet since it did relate to the earlier conversation this morning.
So the reel that you did on Instagram, what was that about? Was that about leaving your apartment situation? And
Which
You
one
got,
are you referring to?
yeah, no, let me tell you which one. You got like 37,000 views.
Oh, it's up to 90. It's over 97,000 now. It's
Good
still
on ya.
going. Yeah, this is
And that was
new for me.
about your new
Um,
Operation Separation?
that one was, so it was about, it's always, when I make videos, it's always about me in some regard, but it's not just about me. And
Right,
I
it's
can
teaching.
humbly accept and own that like, it's never just about me. It might be what I'm going through at the moment. So for me in that moment, I like, everything for me is always tied to the water and that freedom and the autonomy. And so it was very important for me to show like the walking through the sand as the waves are crashing down. And like, I heard somebody's audio clip and it resonated with me to keep pushing through. And you know what? Like, okay, this is the message that I needed to hear right now. Like, I was down. I was super stressed the last few days about leaving my apartment and not having like anything really like confirm, like solidified. Yes, I have a
Right.
plan for the next 3 months, but like nothing is set in stone. Right. And so there's a lot of things that I'm afraid about. And I'm still doing it. I'm still making things happen. I'm still pushing through. And it was the message that I needed to hear. And apparently it was the message that so many other people needed to hear and see too, because I have never had a video post that I've done go that viral, and still going and still bringing in the comments of like, I needed this today. Thank you so much for sharing this. Like, you're an inspiration. Someone even said, I love you. And a complete stranger, like, okay, thank you. Like, I am glad that it is hitting home and shaking things up. And that's the kind of video that I want to bring. That's the kind of content that I want to create, because it's not just about me and what I'm going through, although it helps me very much. It's about creating stuff that other people can relate to and push people to grow to. So yeah, absolutely. Dialing up my courage, even when I'm making videos. I'm not an expert at it, but I still do it.
Right? That's excellent.
Yeah.
We were all laughing at the beginning. I was sharing how when I was working at a psychiatric day treatment center as a special ed teacher, I was outside jumping rope with the kids and I ended up peeing my pants. So I was in that, getting in closer to the menopause age, and that had never happened before. And everybody was so chill cool about it. It just reminded me what a great team I was working with. And nobody teased or kept up a tease about it. They were all like in my place almost. I could empathize being in my place, and what a shock that was. And then I ended up driving 45 minutes home and 45 minutes back just to get changed. So yeah, and it was a psychiatric day treatment center with really violent kids. So just to miss a staff member that long was hard on my team, and everybody was just so good about it. It made me feel really good too.
I'm muted as I was awing, but yes, like courage comes in many forms and situations, and like embarrassing and unprepared as we might be, like in certain cases, like it's natural. And if you're with people that you like, know, and trust, they're going to embrace it and support you. So I'm glad that you had that in that moment and they were able to step into your shoes, or like hold down the fort while you took care of what you needed to. And the same for you, Jenny, that you could like laugh about it and like share other stories with people who have had similar situations. And it's a bonding moment to really like share your courageous experiences. Stina, Dora, tell me about your courage moments.
Okay. Well, for me, the 7 years where I was not able to work, where I was just going around the house and barely functioning after the severe burnout and the illness, that made me lose every inch of confidence that I had acquired to that point in my life, and I felt so out of sorts. Everything was scary. The normal stuff like going to the store, that was okay, but as soon as it was something a little bit more out of the ordinary, I was literally peeing my pants. It was horrible. And I had a session, like a hypnotic coaching session, and I got to meet my departed maternal grandmother, which was a very strong, powerful woman. And she said to me in the hypnosis something that I haven't forgotten. This is over 5 years ago now that this happened. And she said to me that everything worth having hides behind fear. So, and that has kind of come up in every situation where I know that, oh, I feel that pit in my stomach, and ooh, the breathing starts, and you know, the oh, I'm not going to cope. I just want to quit. I just want to hide. I just want to go away, you know? And I think, well, everything worth having hides behind fear. If I face this fear, I can have something greater. So that is kind of what inspires me and pushes me through the fear moments. And it has really taken me a long way. that's an understatement. Yeah, I couldn't even have imagined now published 2 books, public speaking. Yeah. So this just find something that we can get inspired by, and something that we can use to guide us through. And like it was said earlier here, when you do something that resonates with you, that you feel comfortable with, for me it's my heart. I have to make sure that everything is okay with me. I don't much care what everyone else says that I should or shouldn't do. If I feel that it's right for me, then I will or I won't. And before, I didn't trust my heart. I didn't trust my intuition to do that. And a lot of things got sideways because I listened to everyone else. And listening to your own heart, that is the powerful stuff.
Naysayers are everywhere. That's for sure. So I'm really glad to hear that you're trusting your intuition and your gut and letting that lead you, as opposed to what everybody else tells you you should be doing.
They are only speaking from fear.
Absolutely. Stina, what's coming up for you over there?
I need a running recording so I can just record everything I'm thinking while everybody's talking, because I've had each time somebody else talks, there's another thought. I was thinking about how courage for me, I don't really think about feeling courageous so much as courage is something that you can only label once it's happened. So you have to actually do something in order to say that you were courageous, or in order for someone else to look at your actions and say that it was courageous. And through doing courageous things is the way that we get confidence, or what I would say belief in yourself, because otherwise we're just in our heads thinking, like, you can think confidently, or you can think highly of yourself, or you can try to, mantra yourself into confidence, but like, you really don't have it until you've gone out and done the thing. I was listening to, I think it was a coaching call recording earlier today, and somebody was like, I'm having so many breakthroughs. And it hit me that so often we want to say, oh my gosh, I just had this amazing breakthrough. Or, you have this epiphany, and then it's like, yes. And what are you going to do with that epiphany? What are you going to do with that breakthrough? Because if it's just a mental breakthrough and there's not a follow through, then it's not bringing you into courage. You're not taking a step of courage. You're not going into the unknown. You're not doing anything uncomfortable. it's still keeping you in that very safe feeling place. And as Dorrit was talking, I was thinking about integrity and like how that connects to this, because integrity is something that's my whole life been so deeply important to me. Integrity and like trustworthiness and having a reputation of being trustworthy. And to me, that all comes back to integrity, because if I'm in integrity and somebody says, I don't trust you, then I'm like, sounds like a you problem. Like, I'm being honest, I'm in integrity, I'm doing what I say I'm going to do. So if somebody else doesn't find that to be trustworthy, it's a non-issue. But if I don't personally feel like someone could depend on me or rely on my word, then I personally feel that's an issue. I don't like to be out of integrity in that way. And at the same time, integrity can feel very unsafe. Like, our nervous system is not always attuned to our integrity. So we can feel like something's really scary, and we can feel like even like something might be dangerous or could be triggering to us, but it's very much in integrity. So courage is this deliberate decision to take a step. And, you know, the decision is not made until you do that, until you take that step, which cuts off all of your other options, right? Like opportunity cost. So when you're in that courage and you're taking action and you're actually moving forward, that's where integrity comes from, even when it's scary, even when your nervous system is like, we're not safe. This is the unknown. This is uncertain. This is like, there's a problem. And we get to practice that courage to gain confidence, to be in integrity. And I think that sometimes we just wait too long. Like, we wait for the belief in ourselves to come. We wait for the confidence to just like appear or arrive. And it's not the way that it works. You have to actually physically do different things to build that courage and that belief.
Yeah, I can so resonate with that in so many ways. When I was trying to separate myself, I see, is that Glow sticking her hand in there? As I was trying to leave my previous job, the same one that I mentioned earlier, I wanted to do that for a really long time. And I kept wanting to, like, I'll do it eventually. Like, I'll get there. Like, and I just couldn't pull the trigger because I didn't believe in myself that I could do it. And there came a point after like banging my head up against the wall and like doing the same thing and expecting a different result, or wanting people to show up for me differently, or like I'm magically just going to heal myself and things are going to be better. No, like, I had to pull the trigger. I had to dial up that courage. But you're right. I didn't think of it as being courageous in that moment. It wasn't until after I made that leap that that my mom had actually said, like, that was so courageous what you just did. Like, I wish I could have done that. And it was, I think I said this in my book, like, that was the most like affirming thing that anybody could have said to me in that moment. Like, that's what I wanted to hear. That's what I needed to hear. But also, like, my next thought was, you can do that. If you're thinking, I wish I could do something like that, you absolutely can. Just take the action. But I know how hard that is. I know how hard it is because it took me so long to actually pull the trigger and do it myself. So I thank you, Stina, for sharing that. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Like, I love having these conversations. They are courageous within themselves. And now that we've had it, I can look back on that and say that we all shared courageously today and felt very true to ourselves, as always, and from a place of integrity. So collecting all those things together. Is there anything that anybody else has to share on dialing up your courage?
Yes, I'd just love to share some of the values that are just encouraging to me as I am dialing up my courage. And it's remembering that in relationships, business and professional, it's always a co-creation. I'm never alone determining results. So I get to enjoy that co-creation, right? And also it's tapping into the curiosity and care for the people around me. That helps me sort of, raise my gaze and appreciate and just be grateful for the moment and the people that I get to meet. So this is just coming up for me as things that are very encouraging to come back to and sort of draw my energy from.
Yes. That's a great way to end today's conversation. I am grateful to all of you for joining us today. Tune in next week for another high vibe conversation. You don't want to miss it because we will be back, same shell time, same shell station, having another amazing conversation. And I think we have a guest with us, so I'm excited for that. So tune in Thursday, noon Eastern time. And until then, we'll say bye for now.